Welcome to How to Study Church History with Logos Bible Software. And tonight's topic is really exciting. Here's some of the topics we'll be covering. Right now we're in the introduction. We'll just take a few moments to talk about the challenge of studying church history. We'll cover some recommended but not required resources. We'll show you how to create some key collections, how to search by the era or time period, how to search for people, places, and events, how to search by doctrine and controversies, how to understand the historical context, organize your research, and then one little thing at the end about not neglecting the culture and the context in which these events are taking place. So let's just go ahead and do that. Matthew asked the question, are we covering the East or the West or both tonight? This is designed to prepare you to study for either or. So this isn't going to be a church lesson per se, but it's going to show you how to study for both of those events, or both sides, I should say it that way, for East and West. So it is holistic in its approach for tonight. So great question, Matthew. All right, so real quick for those who are new to the webinar, what is the purpose of a webinar? To help you set expectations for tonight. So we're going to provide training for Logos Bible Software. We're going to provide training so you can study this topic for yourself more in depth. And this is one topic that is very deep. There's a lot of material to cover. And we're going to provide biblical insights related to topic where it makes sense. We're going to provide a personal book or manual to equip yourself and others, and that comes with the purchase of the webinar. So let me jump over to Logos real quick here. So here's the personal book. As you can see, there's 10 sections, and everything that I'll be drawing from my notes is all in this personal book. So you get all the collections listed there. You get all the special searches. It's very detailed. It integrates right into Logos and is a fully searchable book with all the links that work. So it's a wonderful tool with the training that comes along with the purchase. So you'll get that. And then also, the webinars tend to be fast-paced, and they do include a lot of information to increase the training value. This is very different experience than the Logos training system, which is done in the studio without a live audience, and it's at a regular pace, a much slower pace, a little bit easier to understand, and topics are broken down. But in the webinar, you know what it is. Buckle up because we're going to be moving through a lot of material. Now, some items you can follow along, and that's by design. Sometimes the webinar is just meant for you to sit back and watch and just enjoy the show. And all webinars are recorded and edited for purchase and review. Now, we're all caught up with the webinars, and we will be emailing a special later this week to you. This particular webinar, I'm going to try to get edited in the next 72 hours so I can include that with the special that's going to release later this week. So we're all caught up on the webinars. It's been a huge effort, so I'm thrilled to be able to do that for you. And it's all part of that Black November special that I wanted to bring to you as well. So the webinars are normally $9.99, and we retail those and discount those to $4.99. If you've participated tonight and signed up, then you will be emailed when that webinar becomes available. Also at the right is the training system. So whether you got Logos 4, 5, or 6, we have the Logos training for you. I'll just focus on 6 tonight, but 6 is all completed. It's up to date. It has over 34 hours of training, 750 plus videos. We're going to take you from the very basics to the most in-depth and work you through the program at your pace. And we're going to not only teach you how to use the program, but how to study the Bible, and we're going to teach you about the books in it. I kind of take a fourfold approach in the training system. First is to teach you the features in the program. Then we connect the features to specific tasks, and then we organize those tasks into a Bible study methodology. And then last, we introduce you to the books and resources where the data for your research is. And we do this all seamlessly at your pace with the videos. So if you haven't ordered the training system, definitely take advantage of it. You'll be shocked on how much you may or may not know, but the training will be so in-depth, it will be great. And I should add this, that with the Logos 6 training, any new training features, any new features that Logos 6 comes out, we're going to add that training for free. In fact, that's my next project for the next 30, 60 days. We'll also be including the Logos Now features as well with that. So just be aware of that. So just go to the website, LearnLogos.com/Logos 6 or 5 or 4, depending on your version of Logos Bible Software. Also, the live training event schedule is available at LearnLogos.com/events. And we're getting ready for our 2016 schedule. So if you have a topic, just email me at webinars@LearnLogos.com, and we'll be taking suggestions over the next 30 days and adding that to the list of topics for next year. So looking forward to helping you guys out on that. So what is the schedule coming up after tonight? Well, next Monday, 1 week from today, we're going to do using, choosing, and studying with multiple Bible versions. So what are the different versions? How are they same and different? How do we use the tools? How do we effectively use multiple translations in our studying? Then in 2 weeks after that, we're going to do the two great judgments, the great white throne and the judgment seat of Christ. And that is a fascinating study in the topic of eschatology, that is the doctrine of last things. We're going to focus on that. And then Monday, 12/7, a couple weeks after that, how to train up your kids in the Lord. And we're going to show you how to use Logos to prepare and study the Bible to help train your kids in the Lord. And so that's a real practical video if you've got kids. And very excited to bring that to you as well. So let's get started with how to study church history with Logos Bible software. Okay, so let's get started first with the challenge of studying church history. And so the first challenge of studying church history is that many have made the argument that history is written by the victors. In other words, you don't always hear both sides of the story. And that's something that we just have to recognize and come to grips with, that our history is factual. We have a lot of things we can collaborate on dates and have a high confidence that what we have is accurate, but there's going to be some things that we just don't have. And so recognize that sometimes information is lost or is a little bit, let's just say, mishandled. Okay? Second, I like what Winston Churchill said, and that is, history will be kind to me, for I intend to write it. And this is much in the same vein as Walter Benjamin, but it is revealing how history can be biased, and we've got to be aware of that when we read through our church history. And then Napoleon Bonaparte, he said this, what is history but a fable agreed upon? And another just reminder again of some of the challenges we have, because sometimes history is embellished to some degree. Now, when we talk about church history, we're talking about the last 2,000 years. Now, certainly more recent history is going to be a whole lot easier to research with the internet, but once you start getting back to the earlier days, it gets more and more difficult. We're talking about multitudes of people, places, events, separate, connected, and interwoven. We're talking about other factors that are political, ideological, geographical, cultural. All these things shape the history that we have. And recognize that not all the information is available. Give you a good example. You take the New Testament. Now, we don't have, as far as we believe, an original autograph. That is a hand-signed copy by the Apostle Paul or Moses. But we have copies of the originals within, 50 to 100 years of the Apostle Paul. High degree of certitude that the Bible we have is a good representation of what was originally written. Now, take Homer, for example. The Odyssey, the Iliad. I think the earliest copy that we have dates 1,500 years after his death. So there's a huge gap of time in there. And this is just something we have to come to grips with and be realistic. So when you study church history, some facts are going to be clear and easy and collaborated, and it's going to be a slam dunk. Others are going to be a little more mysterious and a little more difficult. So recognize the limitation there. So let's jump into the recommended but not required resources. When you study church history, Logos has quite a bit of information. So if you get a few of these key books and resources, it can greatly enhance your ability to study church history. First, the surveys. Now, surveys come in really a couple flavors. They can be very concise resources, or they can be quite in-depth. So let me just open a couple of these so you can see them. So here's a short history of the early church. And this is pretty standard format for a lot of the church history books. They're going to organize it chronologically. And so they're going to work through the early church, the beginning of the church, the life of the church to 313. Then you have the persecution of the empire. And then you got all these different belief systems, Gnosticism, Marcionism. So that takes care of the collections. Very, very important. Now, let's show you how to do a search for a time period or an era. This is a very important search to learn how to do when you're doing church history. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to search on the main menu. Then we're going to choose basic search. Now I'm going to type this in just to save some time. And here is our specific search. Okay. It's large text, colon, quote, apostolic age, quote, space, OR, space, heading, colon, quote, apostolic age, quote, right parenthesis, space, dash post. Now, the reason I have dash post in there is I didn't want post-apostolic age to come back. Now, we're going to search our entire library or all resources with this particular phrase. So this is going to bring back a variety of resources. As you can see here, Dictionary of the Apostolic Church. And if I expand that, you can see that the apostolic age is coming back. So we can learn a lot about the apostolic age just by turning to a specific resource. So this is a very powerful search to focus on this era of the apostolic age. But one of the resources that I came across actually gave us the dates for the apostolic age. So let me run that search and show you what that looks like. And so here's the search formula. It's a less than sign, date, space, squiggly or tilde, space, 6 BC, no space between the 6 and the BC, minus sign, again, no space, 70 AD. So notice I'm mixing BC and AD, and then I end it with a greater than sign. Now, what am I doing here? I am literally searching on all my books on this date range. So I'm going to expand the Anchor Yale Bible Dictionary. And here's a good example, something from the 1st century. Here's a link from AD 50. Now, because I'm searching on just a date range, I'm really just getting back everything. But let's say we narrow this down. Let's narrow this down to someone significant. Let's do Agrippa. So I'm going to put in the phrase or the word near Agrippa and press enter. And again, I'm going to search all my resources. So now my search results are reduced, and I'm only going to get back information about Agrippa. For example, how Agrippa I died in AD 40, and then it was converted to Agrippa II in AD 53. So if we want to know more about the Agrippas in the 1st century, we can do that by combining a date search and a person search. Very, very powerful. So let's take a look at the post-apostolic age, also known as the ante-Nicene, which anti means before, so ante-Nicene, before Nicaea. And that's the date range of 70 to 312. So basically, all the apostles have died, and now we're with the early church fathers all the way to the Nicene Council. And let me run that search. Now, this is a much more complex search. Now, the reason we're using large text and heading is because we want the main articles to come back. If they're using post-apostolic age and let's say inside the paragraph, that's not going to be as significant as a whole chapter or paragraph about the Nicene age, about the ante-Nicene age. So you can see here we're getting back some really interesting articles. Let me go to one, Fasting, a Biblical Historical Study. So